Hello, can you hear me, folks? I'm sorry there won't be any camera today. I'm on my desktop now, and I just need to plug back my camera. I just didn't have the time for that. But can you hear me well, folks? As always, there is like 10-second worth of delay. Okay, amazing. All right, so it's going to be probably a quicker stream. Welcome, everyone. I see some new names, so welcome. As always, we are doing one live every Friday, spilling the beans about the job of a concept artist or to get jobs. Overall, a lot of things that I generally teach in the mentorship that is accessible for free for everyone. But just the rule is that generally for most streams, as soon as the stream is done, there is no replay. Unless for the mentees, of course, we can access everything that I do for no extra cost. And some streams, exceptionally, will either stay on YouTube eventually, or else I will clip some stuff. The clips are coming pretty soon, probably by November. I'm just a bit busy with the VTO, the mentorship at the moment, but as soon as this is done, I'm starting to clip and provide you with a lot of content on YouTube. Clips from the mentorship, where, of course, I just have a bit of editing to not dox anyone. I don't want to show the face, so it will mainly be us talking about interesting stuff and also clips from the lives in order to give you as much value as possible. I'm also planning to do podcast pretty soon. It's going to happen after the Kind of Art event. All right. So as I said, it's going to be a more direct stream. I want it to be very interactive today, okay? Because due to a request that we got last week, I don't remember the name. I apologize, but if I see you in the chat, I will recognize you, or feel free to mention yourself. Someone mentioned last week, we were talking about design, we were talking about a lot of things regarding portfolios and IDs and such. And someone asked at some point, how do you come up with IDs, especially if you have like aphantasia? For those who don't know, aphantasia is when you cannot picture anything in your head. I do not have aphantasia, so I cannot even fathom how it is, but I can at least explain how to come up reliably with IDs. And that's the goal of that video. It's to give you my method to brainstorm for design and to always come up with interesting ideas that match your brief. Sounds good for you, folks? Everyone is excited? Let's talk about brainstorming. We'll talk maybe a bit about reference gathering. It is going to be an example. And I want to brainstorm on one or two subjects with you to show you the power of that method. I truly believe this is absolutely stupid proof. Anyone can use that. There is no skill required for that method. This is the one that we are using with the mentees. I will let the mentees, especially the former ones, explain their opinion about that. But based on what we have, it seems to be pretty efficient. So here is the promise for today, folks. By the end of today's presentation, you will know the battle-tested formula to reliably come up with interesting, compelling, and drastically different ideas, whatever the brief that you receive is. It can be for your own work. It can also be for client work. It can be for school. It can be for art tests. It can be for anything related to design. And we're going to see that together, okay? So I want to start with why. Do not really pay attention to everything right now. You can check the screen if you want, but there's not that many things that are important. It's just my big Obsidian file. Right now, I want to start with why it's important to brainstorm and plan before you start drawing. This is a big mistake that I see all the time, and we are discussing a lot about that with the mentees. It's funny because we are in week 2 of the mentorship at the moment, and that second week, we are generally assessing our technique versus the technique of the pros working at the studios we are aiming at, and we are doing a direct comparison, and we are doing our best to figure out how to close the gap. I will not expand too much on that thing. It will be for another stream. But the conclusion that everyone got yesterday, the 16th student, is I need to spend more time researching and I need to be a bit more patient before starting to draw. And this is the main premise. A big mistake that I see from a lot of artists, including some pros sometimes, but let's talk about aspiring artists who are close to getting a job, making their portfolio and such, is that, in my opinion, they don't spend enough time preparing what they are about to design. Generally, when they have an idea, maybe they grab a few references and then they dive after maybe 30 minutes into drawing, sketching, and they vomit what they have in mind as best as they can, and they stick to that. And in my opinion, this is a very bad habit because you are getting used and you are training yourself to fall in love with the first idea that you have. At work, your job, 90% of your job, is going to be able to provide with iterations. I have shared the work of the former mentees previously. Let me share some documents if you allow me to do so. Oops. I'm just going to go to the Google Drive, the archive, just to access people's work a bit easier. I will pick Jess, I will pick Alex, and I will pick Michael if you don't mind, folks. I can pick Axel too. That's a great example if you don't mind, folks. So let me pick, for example, Jess. It's very important. I'm not going to even zoom on the picture, but it's very important to see that you have a lot of iterations right there. You know what? Let me pick Michael. It's going to be easier. Jess has not released her work yet. There we go. Let's pick Michael to get a start, and then okay, Jess, you say no problem. Let's go. Thank you, Alex, too. So yeah, generally, when you see work on ArtStation, kind of similar to what we said last week, we're studying ArtStation work versus portfolio work. When you go on ArtStation, I'm going to open up Alex. Let me go to the dashboard. When you open up ArtStation, even when you pick a project that is stamped, generally you just have a final picture. You never see the iteration process, the research process. And as we were talking before, you have three things that you need to prove, okay? When you are doing something, there are three things you need to prove. First one, so first question, can you fit what is required in production / the studio? This is your understanding of what is required in production. And your job, it's always two things. One, the most important one, make the life for the 3D artist easier. This means whatever they want to do, it will be after your design. So your design, when you send it to them, you need to be able to give them all the information that they need for them to model the thing without requiring any information from you. It's the question that we asked last time. If I was to send that picture to the 3D team, can they model everything? Is the answer is yes, good. Do more for your portfolio. Is the answer is no, that probably explains why you are struggling to get jobs. And the problem that we saw with production work that is stamped but on ArtStation is that they don't see the process. They just see the final result. They just show that. So that's a massive problem. The second thing that you need to do to fit the production is to provide the art director with enough options and iterations for your design to have a conversation and have choice. This way you can pick the best and you are not making a choice by default. Okay? So that's the first thing you need to prove. So the 3D part, making the life of the 3D artist easier, we talked about that last week. And again, that question is, if you send your work to the 3D team, can they model everything? It can be one picture, it can be a package. And as you're going to see right there, this is a package. This is not a single picture. And right there, it's very important because right here, okay, this is the 3D oriented stuff. And those iterations, this is the food for art directors. And in portfolio, you need to prove both, okay? First thing, you prove your technique. In one or two pictures, it's done. Second thing, you prove that you think about the production. Again, you're going to prove that across your entire portfolio. You need to prove that as fast as possible. This way they don't discard your work. And then you just need to give reasons for the art director reviewing your work to stay. You need to give them food. And this is those kind of designs. This way you prove you can design, that you prove you can iterate. And more importantly, you document your thinking process. You document your initial intentions and how it evolved across the entire process. Okay? From start, initial intention, the very broad sketches, then the more narrow sketches and a bit more niche. You see right there, it was very broad, different silhouettes and such. Then we settled on the silhouette and we changed the details, just like some legendary skins in Overwatch. The golden one, I don't really know the name, but the most prestigious skins in Overwatch is the same silhouette, is the same hitbox of the character, but a different theme. Just like some costume design or skin design. And then, once you settle on the main design, that's where you do the polish stuff, okay? That's the whole design process, and we talked about it. Hello, Milim. Welcome. This is your episode. I think you are the person who required how to brainstorm and how to figure out ideas when you have aphantasia. I think that's you, Milim. So welcome. This is your episode. So yeah, that's the design process, okay? So back to what you need to prove. Can you fit what is required in production? Can you design? Again, this goes back to that idea with that director. And finally, your technique. Straightforward, simple. Okay? So, I want to talk about the design part. We just saw the design process. You start generally with brainstorming and gathering references. Then you do a broad design exploration. So brainstorming, gathering references, it's not shown right there. But broad design, this is this. Then more narrow design until you settle on the main design right here. And once you have the main design, you do the turnaround, the props, the call-out sheet, the expressions, the 2D VFX, and everything the 3D need to model the stuff and animate it and do the VFX. And potentially, if you have some time at the end, you do the polished illustration. So this is the example with Michael. I can pick his whale. This is exactly the same. Final design done at the very end, but then initial sketches, more precise sketches, problem solving. And we can clearly see the evolution. At the beginning, it's just a whale. Then we settle on that idea of parasite. Then we explore the parasite more and more. And eventually we settle on the parasite and how it works and the final render. Then we pick Alex. It's going to be quite the same. And in the portfolio, you do not show it in that order, okay? Start with something great. Sorry if the phone is ringing. There's a bit of family at the house at the moment. But right there, okay, you think about the 3D team. Right there, you can render. Your technique is good. And there, this is all the design process. Everything you thought about in order to come up to that final picture. Sounds good? So, there's a lot of things, and I really want to talk about those sketches, those drastically different variations. Because a big mistake that I see all the time, and for everyone who applied to the mentorship and got refused, this is one of the main reasons. And I wish one day I could do an application, a mentorship application review live. I really wish I could do that, but it's going to be hard because I'm sometimes I'm dismissing people and don't want it to sound disrespectful or anything. We all started, but yeah, I would like to explain the reason why it is refused. But it's going to be tough to do. But at one day, we're going to do a portfolio review session for everyone. Don't worry, pretty soon. Back on track. The main error that I see is that generally, a lot of people, they do one silhouette of a character and they just change something very minor, like a belt or a hood or the helmet, and they call it a different variation. No, you really, really need to have drastically different iterations like this. It's the same thing, but there's nothing recycled from one to the other. The reason, again, is because when you set an application, anything redundant, the art director has already seen that, so it's time wasted. And again, the three things that can tank your application, it's always the same. It's going to be confusion. I don't understand what I see. It's not precise. It's a mess. The user experience is bad. Boredom. I'm not excited by the design that I see, or else I see the same thing over and over and over again, and it bores me. And last time, skepticism. I don't believe it's legit. Is it AI? I don't really know if you can do the full process. Give me a sec. There's a lot of wind and one window just went crazy. Give me a sec. 30 seconds. My apologies. All right. Oh, just one thing, by the way. Just one thing. For the questions, if you have questions, you add me. You add, I'm going to do it. Team the Artist, question, something. This way I can see immediately that orange bar and I know it's a question. Do not tag me for anything else, but if you have some question, just at me. This way I'm going to see it and the questions are going to pop a bit more. By the way, if you have questions, keep them for a bit later. I'm going to explain everything and we're going to see that a bit later, okay? So, next, confusion, boredom, skepticism. We talked about that again. So, I want to focus mainly on the boredom today. Because anything redundant in your portfolio is boring. Application is all about speed. It's all about providing as much information and as much value as possible to the reviewer in as little amount of pages in as short amount of time as possible. So you absolutely want to make sure that nothing recurring is happening in your portfolio. If you have the same pose for the same character, it might be a risk. If your iterations are drastic, that's okay. But if it's just a minor iteration, you just waste space and time in your application. So today, the brainstorming thing is to absolutely nuke the boredom aspect, okay? It's ready to come up with those drastically different things. There is a theme, there's different shape. Nothing is recurring aside from it being a public bench. But you have a different theme on everything. Food rest, game of bones, cat feeding quest, scrolls, bird rest and tags, fictional toilet. There's a specific vibe to everything. And it's very important to have nothing recurrent and to have those drastic iterations. Because if you can do that amount of drastic differences and go that broad, they know you can go more narrow. But if you go more narrow, if it's just recurring all the time, it's going to be a problem, okay? Because they're going to wonder, can you do more, please? You see, even right there, the body of the ship is different. It will be so easy to copy and paste and just change the figurehead. And in some way, for a figurehead design, it doesn't really matter. But if you have the decency to do that, to spend like 5 extra minutes per piece, to just show that extra little bit, at least you do not appear lazy. You appear as someone who likes to draw, who likes to design, and who likes to come up with drastically different things. Sometimes I see the same sword, the same shape, everything is the same, and it's not that interesting, you know? We see the same thing over and over and over and over again. It's not very interesting. So that's why you want to be drastic. You can check Jess. Again, you see, right there, the pose is the same, but the costumes have nothing in common. Okay? Same right there. The poses have nothing in common. It's very important. And also, you convey a lot of personality in the characters. So it's good. Everything clear? I would take that as a yes. With that lengthy intro, I want to start with some postulate. Back to what I was saying. If you don't know where to go, you will end up nowhere and exhaust yourself. That's exactly what I was saying when some students or people applying for the mentorship or portfolios that are reviews, I see just one ID that has been vomited and no orbiting around, no test of that ID, no exploration around, or even something that doesn't make that much sense. When you design, it's like I cannot compare designing to driving to a faraway destination. Bear with me, okay? If your design is complex, it's like driving away to a faraway destination without a GPS. If you don't have a GPS, you might end up to the destination eventually, but you will lose yourself. You will get stuck in traffic. You won't have the most optimized path to go there, and you will struggle so much on the way because you cannot anticipate any problem, and you cannot even plan accordingly. While if you plan or if you get a GPS, you can optimize everything and avoid the roadblocks. Designing is exactly the same. If you start designing something without prior research, how the hell can you possibly know what to do? You'll start designing cool shapes and you will end up stuck in your comfort zone doing the same thing you have done over and over again. And maybe your design won't be credible. Maybe your design will be limited. Maybe you don't have a broad enough visual library to design intricate stuff. And that's how you get boring design. No offense. While if you plan everything on paper, and this is what we are going to see today, you can solve the whole design problem, let's say 95% of the design problem on paper before you start to draw. So before you start to draw, that puzzle is done. So all the energy that you could have spent on design comes back to you. And now you can focus 100% of your energy on drawing, anatomy, posing, or anything one by one, instead of multitasking and fighting with both the design and the rendering and the anatomy at the same time. I see it a bit like a stamina bar. There we go. I see it a bit like a stamina bar, or like the amount of RAM that you have. You see, this is like your stamina bar in Dark Souls, and every time you want to roll, it costs you a certain amount of stamina, you know? And if at some point you roll too much, you don't have enough stamina to do that. Or it's like the RAM of a computer. When you run one task, it's okay. But when you run 50 different tasks in parallel, the computer crashes and chokes. This is the same with design. When you are fighting with like design plus anatomy plus perspective plus rendering plus lighting plus, I don't know, composition, etc. You're going to choke and exceed what you can handle. While if you focus on only one thing, let's say design, you focus 100% of your energy, and once it's done, you never have to focus on it ever again, okay? It's solved. Now you can allocate 100% of your energy on something else. And that's how you perform at 100% of your abilities on every single task one by one, rather than doing everything at the same time. And we are terrible at multitasking. You're going to burn out. In the chat, put a 1 in the chat if you try to do everything you did not plan and eventually it was overwhelming. I will lead the charge. If it ever happened to you in the past. And trust me, well, there's a bit of delay. And trust me, doing that, spending, let's say, 4 to 8 hours, let's say 1 day to brainstorm, because it's going to bring you so much clarity in the rest of the process, you're going to get that time back. All of that, rushing to the drawing without taking proper time to brainstorm and to solve the design on paper like a puzzle, it's just tied to impatience. And most of the problems that we have in the mentorship, most of the problem that we have with the students, it's always more or less tied to impatience. Rendering not good enough, you're not spending enough time about it. Design is bad, you just never took the time to design. Anatomy is flawed, you just did not take an extra hour to fix that. Perspective is flawed, you did not spend enough time to do it in 3D. Lighting is not perfect, yeah, you use the airbrush and a color dodge layer instead of doing it properly. Composition is bad, normal, you never solved the design beforehand. Most of the problems that you have can be solved with patience. I know it's not the answer that people like to hear. I know that everyone today is chasing the hacks and the shortcuts and the glitches in the matrix because everyone wants to feel smart and special. That's bullshit. Patience. Most of the before and after we got in the mentorship, the crazy before and after that you see all the time on the server or everywhere, it's always tied to spending more time. I don't know if Chloe is there, but I will allow myself to share that because I shared it online a fuck ton of time already. Before and after. That picture, to me, is the best example that I have regarding rendering. This picture, 8 hours of work. When Chloe shared her org for the first time, it was not that great. And again, there was like 8 hours. We were like, okay, what about doing 50 hours? We're going to focus on more design, better rendering. And this is the difference between some work that will barely get you hired as a junior and something that would get you hired as a mid to early senior level at 350 plus a day. Just 50 hours of work separate those two ones. And I believe that if you do that for the first time and you realize you're able to do that, first of all, you get a massive boost of confidence. And also, the next rendering you will do like this might take you only 40 or 35 hours instead of 50, which is already way faster. And that's how you level up like crazy. Same with Alex. I see you in the chat. That's the difference between those pictures. And this one, there's a crazy amount of work. But again, this is a crazy level up. All right, enough sharing the work of students. I hope this is clear regarding patience, okay? We are bad at multitasking and we are very, very impatient. And this is the death of most artists, impatience. Even when working on your portfolio, you rush it, it's not good enough, you're not hired, congrats, just because you wanted to round up corner and save time and rush your portfolio, back to the drawing board, see you in 3 to 6 months with a new portfolio. You probably should have spent maybe 10 more hours per piece. Maybe you would have gotten hired. Patience is super important, okay? Especially when designing. I know there is that cult about speed in the industry, but again, when we are on ArtStation, let me just reopen ArtStation. When we are on ArtStation and we see these, we only see the final results. Oh, my bad, we have some iteration right there. Based China. Let's say the picture. Beautiful work. Again, I don't know the artist. We only see the final result. And maybe it's like, yeah, I spent 2 days on that, and we're like, oh my God, to do that concept, I need to spend 2 days on it. No, it was 2 days on the final picture. What we don't see, you know, it's a bit like an iceberg. I think that's Tyler Edlin who used the iceberg meme. It's like final render and all the process. So broad design, brainstorm, broad design, reference, broad design, specific design, call out sheets, etc., etc. That's the only thing we see. And honestly, the final render is the fastest to do. If, for example, I haven't designed gun ever, I should start sketching after I completely understand gun parts and what gun design look good. Yeah, exactly. You need to have a good understanding of what you do. Otherwise, what you will be designing will look not functional. I'm not telling you to know how to build a gun, but at least to understand the basics around it. I'm not a gun expert. I'm a medieval nerd, okay? So I will not be able to tell you that much about guns. Imagine that you need to understand the reload chamber, the muzzle, the handle, the trigger, how you load things, what are the hinges mechanism to remove the shell chamber and recharge, reload your gun and such. So yeah, strong understanding. Yeah, the Warlock Discord for guns, for sure. All right. So this is the observation that we got on 100% of the students. I already spoiled it. Most of them, they spend time. And finally, this is my postulate. And I know, again, everyone is about the hacks and the shortcuts and the tricks and the gimmicks and the Blender plugin to help you circle around problems. But regarding design, no plugin is going to save you. No hack is going to save you. But the good news is, in my opinion, design is not about skills, but about asking yourself the right questions. If you have not watched that video, by the way, thanks you on YouTube. If you have not watched that video, 111, 113, 109, 108 is telling you every question you need to ask yourself to make a compelling design. I do not want to step on this territory. What I want to focus on is how do you get ideas, okay? Because this is the main roadblock. You are like, okay, that's cool. I understand the question you need to ask yourself. Where are we about using the Z-axis and all of that? Thanks, you talked about that. Thank you, Daddy. But how do I get fucking ideas, you know? This is what we are going to talk about today. So, brainstorming, okay? If you skip brainstorming, it will result in bad design and you will struggle during the entire process. You will waste time and it's going to be hard. So, here's what happens if you don't spend time brainstorming. Blank page syndrome very frequently, and you will exhaust yourself trying to stimulate inspiration to solve design for you. You will burn yourself out fighting with design, perspective drawing, anatomy, composition, and everything at the same time, as we said. Because of this, you will start feeling anxious every time you are facing a new brief. This can lead to very toxic feelings at work, dodging mechanism, lying to yourself to justify not going for the hard design stuff, and you will trap yourself in your comfort zone. All those aspiring artists that I bash all the time on social media doing the Jamas night and the kid bashing and all of that, they don't realize they trapped themselves in their comfort zone, and their comfort zone is becoming their prison. Just because they are generally either impatient or lazy or uninformed most of the case. And even if you can figure out your design anyways by brute forcing through the painful process, you will burn so much energy on that, okay? On the other hand, if you spend enough time brainstorming, you will have a reliable methodology to figure out great design every single time regardless of the brief. So even when you are at work and you face something you never did before, it's going to be easy. You won't be stressed about facing a new brief because you have a reliable methodology that works 100% of the time. And more importantly, you will separate every step of the design, drawing, and rendering into a smooth pipeline that allows you to focus 100% of your energy on one thing at a time, preventing you from burning out and allowing you to get better results at every stage one by one. And paradoxically enough, by taking the time to not draw at the beginning in order to problem solve things, you will end up being faster than with dealing with every step at the time for less energy spent. And this leads you to have more fun in the design process. Here is how to do it properly, okay? I'm going to grab that graph. I'm going to put that on a secondary screen. Let's talk about that, okay? The first thing is that you will have a brief, okay? You have your brief. My mic is dropping, I don't know why. You will have a brief, okay? That brief, you will have a description with a lot of keywords, okay? description, keywords. I'm going to pick you an example. Those keywords, you will have to split that in two parts. You will have the non-negotiables and you will have the flavor elements. Let's describe each of them precisely, okay? The non-negotiables. These are like I call them the fundamentals in the mentorship, my bad. These are the non-negotiable elements that are specific. There are specific terms from the brief that are part of the core DNA of your subject. So they are generally specific terms and features from the brief that you have no wiggle room about. Let's say the main character needs to have brown hair, brown long straight hair, green eyes, and porcelain skin. Those are fundamentals. You have no wiggle room around, okay? You won't be able to do blonde hair. You won't be able to do it curly. You won't be able to have a suntanned character. This is non-negotiable, okay? Those are part of the fundamentals. Now we have the flavor elements. These are different directions that you will be able to explore. Those are terms that are a bit generic / imprecise. You have wiggle room to interpret that. And you can go in different directions. Generally, about those things, it's up to your interpretations and you will have to make some educated assumptions. I will give you an example, bear with me, okay? And for all those keywords, both the fundamentals and the flavor, you are going to write some sub-keywords. Okay? Sub-ID, sub-keyword, call them however you want, but you will have plenty of them, okay? You have tons and tons of them. And you can replicate the process again and again and again. And that's how you're going to brainstorm, okay? We're going to see that a bit later. Let me give you a brief, okay? This is the brief that I give to the mentees. We call him Finian the Bard. So let's have an example. Finian the Bard. And let's have a description, okay? So we have a TLDR and a backstory and some goals and desire, okay? So TLDR is a male bard, young adult, chestnut hair, amber eyes, and freckles, curious and nervous, loves cats, is on the run from a powerful group of individuals. That's the TLDR, okay? The backstory. Finian was always curious and loved to explore. He spent his younger years traveling from village to village, collecting stories and learning songs. One day, he overheard a conversation he shouldn't have, involving a secret plot from a powerful group. Now on the run, he hides in the village, disguising his true identity. Every night, he sings tales in the local tavern, hoping to blend in, but always with an eye on the door. And here is his goal. Finian's ultimate desire is to find a powerful artifact remote to grant protection against any foe. With it, he hopes to confront the group that's chasing him and clear his name. A very simple subject. That's the kind of brief you will get from like an art test or even in production. Okay? You would have the backstory of the character from the writer, a set of features from the game designer or creative director or even the writer, and the goal and desire is we can kinda skip that, but we'll see how we can brainstorm around that. Okay? So I want to do it in an interactive way with you. I want you to tell me right now, in that brief, what are the fundamental keywords? Let's go. Feel free to write the keywords and let's use the collective intelligence to do that, okay? I'm sorry for the delay. There's like 15 seconds worth of delay. But yeah, let's go. Don't be shy. Mail, okay. Let's pick the fundamentals. So, male. Young age. What does young age mean? It's young adult. It's more precise. Okay. Chestnut hair. Okay. Amber eyes. Freckles. Yeah, overall his physical appearance. It's given to us. He's a bard. Is bard a fundamental, or can it be subject to interpretation? I will argue that bard is subject to interpretation. You have someone like the bards in The Witcher. You have the swords bard in D&D. You have the lore bard in D&D. You have the glamour bard. You have different ways to express a bard, you know. It can be a musician, it can be a scribe, it can be a storyteller, it can be a performer. So bard, to me, is a flavor element, okay? Curious, again, this is curious and nervous. This is up to interpretation. How can you be nervous? You can be a bit paranoid and look everywhere around. You can be a bit awkward. To me, this is a flavor element. Curious, nervous. Okay. Very good, Peter Miller. You're extremely good. Bar is more the archetype, exactly. So an archetype, because it's subject to interpretation, and you have different ways to express that, depending on the direction, this is an opportunity for flavor. We're going to see what we do with those elements, okay? What else do we have? That could be wiggle room, exactly, curious, nervous. Now with the story. He's on the run from a powerful group of individuals. Flavor. What does that mean? What is that group? How does that translate to his daily thing? On the run. Cat lover? Of course. It does not say he has a cat, just that he lacks cat. So again, it's up to interpretation. Does he has a cat, or several of them, or does he just like cats? Why is there such an information? You don't really know. And you have several ways to translate that. So loves cats in the flavor, okay? Fundamentals. Flavor. Okay? Very good. Next. Clumsy. Yeah. It will be for the curious and nervous. So yeah, curious, nervous / clumsy. We're going to interpret those terms after, okay? Traveling from village to village. Loves to explore. To me, loves to explore, there is like loves to explore. There's this kind of adventurous. Okay? Traveling from village to village. Traveling from village to village. We're going to pick all those words one by one and explode them, okay? Collecting songs and stories. Okay, collecting songs and stories. Involving a secret plot. There's that idea of a bit of a conspiracy. On the run, again, How does that translate? Is he hiding? Is he always running away? On the run? Disguising. Disguising is something fluid. You're going to express that through different ways. That's the proper of disguise. Artifact hunter, exactly. At least for one. One specific artifact. Every night he sings. He sings tales. So he's a singer. So to me, singer, this is going to be both fundamental and flavor because is it with an instrument? But still singer. There we go. Hoping to blend in. This is the disguising / blend in. Okay? Always an eye on the door. To me, this is the nervous, on the run, eye on the door. There we go. You are already starting to run your imagination. I like it. I really like it. And his desire, we talked about that, artifact chasing. Now we have a lot of good things. Those things, there's not that much wiggle room around. Okay? Chestnut hair, we could potentially define what type of hair he has. Curly, long, straight, short. That's pretty much as we're going to get. All the rest, we don't have that much wiggle room around. Okay? Singer is a bit apart. Now the flavors. Okay? We have a lot of them. We're going to pick the most archetypal ones, okay? Archetypes. From that, let's try to extract 3 different archetypes. We could have more. To me, in terms of archetype, we have the bard. I'm going to pick like the okay, let me do it this way. Let me do another one. We have the bard. Okay. To me, that idea of on the run, there's a bit that idea of a rogue. Someone stealthy, like a spy. Spy. Rogue. And to me, there is also artifact hunter, traveling, curious. To me, there's that idea of an explorer or traveler. Okay? To me, those are the 3 archetypes we can extract from that character. Are you okay with that, folks? So, bard. Let's try to define that idea of a bard. It could be a swords bard. Let's go with the very cliche entertainer bard. You know, your cliche flamboyant bard, bright colors, garish costume, flamboyant poses, good food and alcohol. And there is some irony with clumsy and nervous spy that would be interesting. So flamboyant, entertainer, garish colors and costumes, charismatic, fabulous. Let's say Epicurean. Enjoying food, drink, love, etc. Okay? The spy and the rogue is disguising. Masks, cloaks, changing costumes all the time, and identity. Okay? Stealthy. Dark cloak, dark clothing. concealing, shroud, shrouding him. Exactly, Alex. You're starting to spoil the fun right there. Right now, we are just doing those 3 archetypes, okay? See how much of an inventory it gives you of the things that you have to think about already? You can think about the pose, the charismatic, and all of that, and you can explore those ideas. Again, hidden weapon, I like it. This gives you the cooking formula for the Borg archetype, for the rogue, and all of that based on what we have, okay? This is a list of the things that you have to put in the character to express that idea, to make it clear for people. We see all of that. We see someone with a disguise kit, a cloak, a mask in his hand, changing costume, dark clothing, dark cloak, a coal on his head, hidden weapons. We know it's a rogue. We got so much archetypal culture around that for aeons about that it's obvious to us, okay? We're going to talk about that, Peter. Keep your question for a bit later, copy and paste it, and re-ask it once we are done with the character, and I'm start talking about how to translate that to environment and props, please. I just want to finish for characters, but we can definitely do that for environment. There's just an extra layer of thinking to do. But save that question for like 20, 30 minutes from now. I promise we'll talk about that, okay? Oh my God, it's already an hour? Oh my God. Wow. Okay. Okay. No problem. And I forgot to start recording, so I will have to download it from YouTube. Amazing. I love it. All right. Let's talk about Traveler. What do we have? Travel gear. More rough clothing. Backpacks. What else? Sleeping outside. So maybe a bit dirty. Sleeping bags. Saucepan cooking. Yeah, let's go. Just like Sam in Lord of the Rings. Maps, compass, goggles, books, hood, tent, sturdy boots. You're starting to get it. Unkept clothes, exactly. We have it already. Stains, maybe a horse or a mount. Animal companion, why not? In any of them, the animal companion could work, and that might be the cat, actually. How would the cat be translated to all these archetypes? What would be a cat for a bard? To me, this is like an assistant, like an entertaining cat doing tricks. Maybe with dyed hair, dyed fur. Maybe a small accessories. What kind of race of cat it will be? To me, it will be like one of those majestic, long-coated white cat. Something very big, like a full white Maine Coon or Siberian or Ragdoll. Let's say Maine Coon or Ragdoll. What would be a cat for a spy? Black cat. Probably a small one. Maybe with a small backpack and a parchment and accessory, like a small set of backpack. He's trained to watch over the guards, to detect guards and smell things and distract people. Yeah, or for the bard, it could be a playful ginger cat. Exactly, playful. For a traveler, what it will be? To me, it would be like a stray cat, like a stray cat. Maybe a bit sturdy, like a Norwegian. Let's pick the orange cat. Very friendly. I would say mostly a companion. Yeah, or for the rogue, if you want to be edgy, let's pick a sphinx, albino sphinx. It's not the most discreet one, but it could. If you want to go very edgy, you could. Emergency food. There we go. Travel food / emergency food, etc. Look at how many ideas we have and how drastic the differences are now. Okay? We could go on everything, like playful, trick, dyed fur, and we could make an inventory of everything. Okay? What I want to show to you is something very cool. Okay? Spy. Okay. Traveler. And bard. Okay. That's already 3 different archetypes, okay? Now something you can do. Very simple. What if you do this, okay? And now you have a hybrid spy / bard, spy / traveler, and bard / traveler. And now you can come up to new conclusions. Maybe the black cat is for the full rogue and the sphinx it's for the bard and spy, because an albino sphinx, that will be a great cat for entertainment. This is not something you see all the time. Spy traveler? Yeah, on the run. It goes well with that idea of on the run. Super sturdy. Is not going to look nice. He's going to just have a small sprinkle of bard, like for maybe a small flute, a small instrument, a small one-handed instrument. But with this, now you have 6 different IDs that are creating some kind of spectrum, you know, just like a color wheel of IDs. 3 drastically different IDs and their sub-IDs. And those 6 IDs, you do not need more than that to come up with 6 different sketches that are super cool. Does that make sense? Can you see the potential of that, and how with just fundamental flavor and extracting the flavor, those are the 3 directions you can go. You could pick more if you want. But just with that, you can do it for pretty much any subject, okay? Let's imagine we have 3 other subjects, okay? We have another subject. Let me pick something random. Let me pick Versailles Renaissance nobles. Okay, goldfish. And I don't know. Let's pick Inquisition. Okay. Versailles Renaissance nobles mixed with a goldfish. Imagine the clothing of Versailles Renaissance, like Louis XIV and such, mixed with goldfish texture. or goldfish appearance. Now imagine Versailles Renaissance settings, but most people, they look like goldfish. They have masks looking like goldfish and such. And now Versailles Renaissance Inquisition goldfish. This might be silly, okay? This is a very silly. I would need more of the fundamentals to figure out everything. This is like the court of a king, let's say. Court of a king, but themed around the goldfish. It could be super regal, super noble with beautiful materials and such. You see what I mean? The power of just doing this. This establishes a spectrum of 6 possibilities in 3 directions that fit the brief, are drastically different, are not redundant with each other, and solve the design because all of them, they are credible for the brief. And they might reflect different aspects of the same character, okay? And if I wanted to expand even more, always an eye on the door is probably a bit paranoid or at least vigilant. Collecting stories is probably curious and inquisitive. Loves cats, either a pet or maybe his gear looks like a cat. Maybe he has a hat with like cat ear and things like that. Maybe he's on his gear, he's having like toys for the cat and such. You can expand crazily like that. Does that make sense? And one last thing, for any design, you want that character to have a strong flavor. This is exactly what we have done. And you want to be able to summarize your character by the guy or the girl or the character with something. The crazy old lady with 50 cats from The Simpsons. The monk with a blue arrow on his head and a flying bison from Avatar. The monster hunter, a rough guy with white hair and 2 swords in his back. The demon slayer with a double-barrel shotgun for Doom. The kid with glasses and a lightning spark on the forehead for Harry Potter. Okay? This is how you create something iconic. Okay? So, something that people will remember about. This is how you inject flavor. Okay? For environment now. When you're able to, could you zoom out? Yep. Santiago? You are in the mentorship? You have those documents normally. But yeah, I will... you know what? That document, I will send it on Discord, okay? Let's be nice today. Let's send it on Discord. Yeah, the Demon Slayer with red jacket, guns and sword. This is Devil May Cry. You see, I'm not even playing the game, but I know it's Devil May Cry. Because it's so iconic. I'm expanding on the course, okay? I'm expanding on things from the course as I always during during those live session. This is you having a snippet of what I'm doing and extracting a bit of value from it for free, okay? But if you are in the mentorship, you have those things, but I will send that document on the Discord, okay? There's the link down below to join the Discord normally. For environment, this is going to surprise a lot of people doing environment, and it surprised a lot of the mentees when they got the brief, because at no point in that brief from Finian am I talking about the environment. And yet I'm saying to some mentees who want to specialize in environment design, you need to design the place where this guy lives in. And at no point am I talking about his environment. So you need to make assumptions based on that. An environment is always meant to serve someone living into it. So let's make some assumptions, okay? For a bard, where would a bard live? In an inn or a tavern? Probably more or less luxurious. I would imagine something a bit flamboyant with a big bed, red velvet things, just for the very over the top, dripping sex symbol of a bard, you know, the horny cliche bard. Let's say red velvet. If rich, you know, things like this. Now for rogue. You don't want people to pay attention to you. So either a super small, super poor, and random tavern, in a church, in a place where nobody will suspect you. Squatting an attic without the landlord knowing it. For someone traveling, I would imagine like a caravan rather than just a camp. Let's imagine in something like traveling bard caravan with, let's say, a cattle. What about a giant cat to drag the caravan? Giant cat? Question mark. Yeah, cave base, rooftops, pool, let's say modest inn / tavern. I would advise that for the exercise, you would pick something a bit more personal to show the personality of the guy. Let's try to have some flavor. As an explorer, you will have some maps, some compass, some red connecting the dots type of billboard for the magic object, or for conspiracy theory because he heard some conspiracies, you know, as a spy. For a bard, you will have instrument, music sheet, heart-shaped pillows for love, flowers. For the cat, you will have a cat basket somewhere, some toys. For the spy rogue, the cat will have like maybe a small hideout or something like that. Maybe he has stolen some documents. He made a nest with some parchment and documents, or he made a nest in a box full of coins that have been stolen. As a traveler, I imagine like a caravan, just like, you know, those traveling minivan guys traveling with dogs and cats. Yeah, for the bard, you will have brothel and things like that. You have many ways. I'm just exploring a few right now because we are lacking time. But you see, we spend an hour, like an hour on that, a bit less, and we barely scratch the surface. At some point, you will have to commit, okay? But this alone, in just 1 hour, you have some crazy ideas. The next step would be to gather references, okay? But that's already good. And you do that before gathering references because now, with that list, all those things, if you expand it one more time for each of them, now you have the inventory of everything you need to find, okay? This way, you know what to look for. It's like going to the grocery store without a list. You're going to end up buying shit you don't need. Right there, you have your grocery list. You know exactly what to look for, and you won't get lost. Okay? So for environment, it's just about asking yourself, what would the place, how all those things, traveling gear, rough clothing, backpack, and such, how do you translate that to the environment? Where do you store that? That personality aspect, flamboyant, entertainer, like flamboyant and entertainer, and Epicurean and sexopath. Okay, how do you translate that in the room? You will have love letters from admirers with kisses on them. You will have heart-shaped pillows. You will have tons of flashy costume, like maybe some dye for the hair and for the skin. If you are designing the city, how would you tackle the characters? It's not asking about the characters in that case. It's about asking about the civilization. What is specific about that civilization? What is specific about the life there? What are the constraints of that city? Okay? You just need to zoom out. Right now, we are doing something very intimate on one character. If you are doing a city, something bigger scale, you zoom out and you ask yourself, what is the main role of that city? Let's say it's a city surrounded around agriculture, for example. okay, everything is going to revolve around agriculture. Let's say it's a city with tons of wind and ice. It's going to have to accommodate for that. Let's say it's a city centered around knowledge. Everyone is a scribe, everyone is an intellectual. There's a big magic school right there. How does magic can simplify that thing? Climate, religion, culture, exactly. I completely agree with that. Generally, my rule for character, it's like one archetype, one cultural influence, one function / class, one signature element, which is that heavy flavor thing, like the cat lady with 50 cats, the orc barbarian collecting feathers. This is the flavor element. And one anecdote about them. You see that bard, that anecdote is, let's say he was in touch with two admirers at the same time and they discovered about that. And now there is a very jealous, one of them, of those admirers, wreaked havoc in the room or torn apart some clothes or put a threatening letter with a dagger in the table. That's a crazy anecdote, I think. Maybe he just got kissed while playing. And now he's having a kiss on the cheek. Maybe as a bard, he was playing a bard and something went terribly wrong. Maybe his wig caught fire with the chandelier above, and now his hair is completely burnt. And you understand with the partially burnt wig that something went wrong, you know? A simple anecdote like that. For environment, it's kind of the same. It's one place, one architectural influence, one type of people in it, one function. A place is always designed to serve the people living in it. And one anecdote again. What happened in that room? What happened in that place? What is it about the people? That room, that bedroom for someone, what are the hobbies about that person? What happened before? Maybe there's been like a pillow fight just before we enter the room, okay? That idea of one anecdote, I tend to like it because it's where you can bring something interesting, okay? Does that make sense? And then, now, you can search for references. And this is how anyone with zero skill, just a bit of patience, can solve any design based off the brief. Sounds good for you? Let's move back to the questions. For props, so I talked, Peter Miller, sorry. Could you also assign an archetype to other types of design, like building or props? I talked about it for the building. For the props, it will be the same. It's an object that belongs to someone, and that object needs to tell the story of the people who own them. If it's something pristine clean, it's something that is precious for the person. If it's something that is rough and used, this is something that is not that much respected by the person or else needs to be used all the time. I think object and environment, they need to be a testimony of the people living or owning them. Okay? I think with what I did right now, it can answer your question for props, right? Again, if you have a question, tag me, okay? This is why I see the orange thing. When you're able to, could you zoom? Yes, I will send it, Santiago, no problem. Are you able to go through this quickly for a whole city? It's hard to visualize with just words. Let's pick a city. Okay. Let's pick a city of dwarves. Classic. But instead of being under a mountain, they are under a lake. Okay? This is the twist. Okay? Dwarves, Art Deco, all of that. We have dwarves. Under a lake. So non-negotiable. Dwarves. Under a lake. And let's say they do something. Let's imagine they do musical instruments. For whatever reason, there is a type of material under that lake, or thanks to the water of that lake, that creates the most musical type of wood and metal for instruments, okay? They are artisans, okay? So we have the lake, that theme of water. How do they utilize the lake and the water underneath? Okay, let's have the water, okay? Let me remove those. It's centered around music. It's centered around artisan, okay? Like craft, artisan, let's see. Okay. Water and music. How can they maybe have some water organs to play music? How do they build, how do they grow the wood and fabricate the metal to make those musical instruments thanks to water? Maybe the instrument is water blasted in a specific formula to make the wood damp and to get it to conform to crazy shapes for the instrument, okay? Something like this. Music artisan, this is just building instrument, okay? With a bit of water, but this is the least important. Maybe they are going to use like water piston and such. Water artisan, how do they use the water to build everything in their city? Okay, music, maybe everyone plays music. I know there is that example in the Rings of Power terrible series of people singing for the mountain. Maybe they are singing for the lake and they are able to control water, just like the water bender in Avatar. Maybe the city is made of ice, you see, with water. Imagine a city, an entire dwarven city just centered around water. They have boats, they have water bender, ice. You could have some crazy shit. You could have a glass harmonica. I love that. City surrounded around the artisan, that's where you're going to add a bit of lake, a bit of music. It's going to still have that small sprinkle, okay? A city of dwarves centered around music. Everyone communicates with music and tones and instruments. Maybe it's dwarves that cannot speak. I don't know. And they communicate through songs, something like that. Makes sense? I'm just speculating right now, but it's all about you have a problem. How do you solve that? It's trying to figure out a problem and you can solve that. And now you have an opportunity for great design. Can we design city based on, for example, patron deity? Yeah, exactly. It could be a god. And what are the virtues and vices of that god? What are the precepts of that god? And how does everyone obey to that god? And how does it rule the life of people? Let's say a god that is the sun god. How do you worship that? Do you usually gather references before doing any rough sketching, or do you do a couple of roughs first? No, I do the brainstorming and then I gather the refs. And then I start sketching. And it would need another session to speak about gathering references, and there's not that much to do about that. But when you gather references, do not gather 50. 50 per music, 50 per water is going to be too much. You need to curate the amount of references that you have. I like students to scribble on their references. And I always tell them every references that makes it to your board needs to have a reason to be there. Not just a random, I need an instrument, I'm going to pick whatever instrument. No, search for the exact instrument that you want. So yeah, brainstorming, references, and then sketching. And as you are rendering, you are going to need maybe a few more niche references to explain the functionality. Eventually, those ones you can hardly plan that in advance. If a character setting is settled in a specific culture, example, feudal Japan, how much would you say your design needs to be historically accurate? Look at Ubisoft. I think it answers that question. I like it to be grounded enough so I can suspend my disbelief. I do not want only historical characters and such, but if you claim it to be historical, make it historical. If you claim it to be a fantasy inspired by, like for example, The Last Samurai, one of my top 3 favorite movies of all time, it's a fiction. But it's presented in a way that is coherent and credible enough for me to suspend my disbelief and belief in it. Okay? This is all about suspending your disbelief and seeing the influence, and I would say, if possible, respecting the culture, which Ubisoft with Assassin's Creed Shadow definitely did not do according to Japan. So to me, this is a case study of when you pretend to be historically accurate, but you have so many incoherencies, and not just with the main character, with things, with references. Everyone there has probably seen the debacle surrounding Ubisoft and Assassin's Creed Shadows. So yeah, I hope it's going to be studied as a textbook of what not to do when making something pseudo-grounded. You want something grounded that is great while still being fantasy, pick God of War. God of War is super respectful of the source material, was still able to twist it and create something new out of that. Pick Sekiro, same. Japan, very classic. You believe in that folklore and in the creatures that they show, but it's fresh because they add some twist to that. Again, that twist is the flavor elements. That's also something I say to the students. This is more when you are making a portfolio subject. I like to pick an existing story or something grounded, like an existing historical setting or trope or myth, and add a twist to it. An example is like French Revolution, but instead of gunpowder, you have magic. Instead of freeing up the Bastille and giving weapons to all the commoners, they size a magic school and they give magic to everyone. What before it was banned and only accessible to the clergy, the nobles, and some guards. You create a crazy problem to solve. And that's exactly what they want to see for concept art. Solving problems. How do you decide when it's time to commit to an idea? Generally, this is a rabbit hole and you could infinitely do it. At some point, when it's starting to be clear enough in your head, commit to it. Something like this, if I was at work, just brainstorming with Word, I would spend at least 4 hours on it. Probably 4 hours on it. Half a day. And probably at least half a day, if not a full day, gathering references. And really curating the fuck my references. Not just picking the first thing you find on Google. Research is very important. And I think research, if you spend a day or two doing research, you're going to save a fuck ton of time after. Because a full project with the full design process is going to take you in production, not just the final picture. That is going to take maybe 2 days, but the full design process with research, brainstorming, early design, narrowing down, doing everything until you have the final design, the turnaround is going to be roughly 150 hours. If you allocate, let's say, 15 hours, like 10% of that to prepping, I can guarantee you will save weeks of work. Days and days and days, and it will be way faster after. But yeah, technically you could infinitely commit to that and not get any shit done. At some point you need to get it done. So at least 4 hours being concentrated doing that, you should be 95% solved, and you will have more ideas to commit to. When presenting sketches, I like to have 6 different ideas. You might have to do more and curate. I like to present 6 to an art director, and that's what I ask to the mentees. It's a good sweet spot between too much and not enough. You don't want to do 15 different proposals for your client. It's going to be too much and overwhelming. Similar to when you have too many references for the same thing, you're going to be overwhelmed and you're going to have paralysis analysis. Whew. How do you say when it's time to go into an idea? We got it. Is rendering as important as problem solving, brainstorming, references, sketching, and iterating? Is it possible to omit that stage and use flat color when presenting design? Once you have proven you can render at least once or twice, you can skip it. In a portfolio. In production, I don't know. It's going to depend on the production. But in a portfolio, once you have proven you can render once or twice, they know you can do it. So now you can save a fuck ton of time and just focus on the design. They know you can render. What I say to the mentees is roughly 20% of your portfolio will be rendered. The rest can be sketches, flat colors, more or less semi-rendered. It doesn't really matter as long as it's clean and readable and that you have proven you can render crazy shit. Again, similar to what I saw, I showed to from. I'm sorry, Alex. I'm always sharing your work. I hope you don't mind. I will owe you drinks or something like that. Eventually, I'm going to send you another bottle. Eventually, but you see, this is clean. This is readable. This is understandable. If it was a fucking rag, a fucking mess, no. But right there, this is clean, this is readable. And when you see that, you know Alex can render very well. You don't need more than that. In this example, if you were at work, will you take these archetypes and use those for different ideation for the character? Yes, yes. Yeah, totally. Shushen, it's not really a specialty of where I am, but I will see eventually. When you finally land that job, okay? Pretty soon. Yeah, for a lot of things, you can do it. Any other question, folks? That's the moment I can answer the question. I still have like 15, 20 minutes. So let's go with that. And I'm going to share that thing in the Discord. Why some companies do art tests expecting artists to like 1 or 2 days only? It's going to simulate only a fraction of the production and it's meant to stress test you and see how you can do under a big constraint. And sometimes you won't have to do the full design process. Maybe instead of doing like 10 drawings, you will have to do only 4. But art test, it's meant really to stress you and see how you operate under heavy stress. And can you get it in terms of what they want? And one more thing regarding art test. This is a controversial take, but if you are getting art tested, if you have no experience, you are searching for your first job, this is okay. But if you are a senior, let's say, and you are getting art tested while being a senior or even mid-level, unless it's a gigantic company like Blizzard or Riot, or where there is a ton of demand, it probably means that you have a problem in your portfolio because they are not fully sure you could do the job. When you are starting, you have no record of having worked successfully. They want to be sure you are legit and that what you produce in your portfolio is legit. When you have a record of like 6 to 7 years of experience and you keep getting art tested, it means that there is a flaw in your portfolio, in your design process, in what you see, in what you show to the company, and they are not sure, and this is a massive problem in my opinion. If the company would trust you, would trust your experience, they will not art test you. It means that there is a flaw somewhere and you need to become aware of what it is. This is something a lot of seniors getting art tested right now will not like to listen, but this is how it works. Art test is just to reassess trust and to be 100% sure you could do the job. And a lot of seniors, they get hired without an artist because you know for 100% sure they could do the job. In terms of availability of work, is it better to diversify the portfolio between environment, characters, and prof, or is it better to focus on what you are good at? We're going to make a dedicated session about that eventually. This is a show. This is something I'm going to show tomorrow to the mentees. Exactly that, the portfolio structure. But roughly, what I advise you is that in your portfolio, it's going to depend on the company you are applying at. You need to do some research about the artist working at that company and figure out what these artists are doing. If all the artists hired at that company only do specialty stuff, let's say they only do environment design and some person do only characters, except they want specialists. If they are more generalist, expect the company wants generalist. Generally, outsourcing studio tend to want specialists. Production studio like Ubisoft, EA, when you are really working in a production studio and not an outsourcing studio, they tend to want you to be a bit more generalist. Maybe not 50-50, but maybe 60-40. In any case, even if you are specialist, I advise you to have like, let's say 70% of one specialty and 30% of another specialty that complements the first one. Let's say you are doing environment design, it will be, let's say, 70% environment, 30% props. Or 30% character. But in any case, I would always advise to have props. Let's say you are doing character, it might be like 70% character, 40% props, something like that. I would actually advise for character 60% character, 20-30% creatures, at least some pets and some sidekicks, and the remaining 10-20% props and gear and costumes. That's the way I would advise it. When you are niche, careful with niche, like let's say creature design only. You need to ask yourself if it's enough work to justify hiring you full time. For something super niche, it might not be the case. I'm spilling the bean from the mentorships right now. So yeah, you know why the lives are not in replay right now. This is important information. But again, what I'm saying in the mentorship is not the knowledge, is just the time, the course correction, and implementation. So I don't really mind. I hope it answers your question, DeBoss Production. But in any case, focus on what you are good at. Yeah. You're only as good as your worst pieces in your portfolio. So you want to be sure that the worst piece does not tank your portfolio. If you are bad at environment and only doing character, maybe do not put environment if it's that bad, you know. When doing set dressing environment, do you brainstorm this much for the character that lives in the scene? Yes, because an environment, it's all about the people who live into it. You want the best example of storytelling with environment? You play Fallout 4. Every room you enter, every place you visit, there's nobody left, or else it's raiders who are not the people who were there. But in that place, in every place you visit, you can understand exactly what it was before the fallout, what the people in that place were doing during the fallout, and what happened to that place after the fallout once it has been repurposed by the few survivors. This is a crazy level of storytelling because you know exactly what happened without seeing anyone, just thanks to the object. So yes, for set dressing, this is what makes a good set dressing. Kind of similar to when you are an inspector in a police series. You enter a place and you can profile the person just with the object in the room. This is crazy. And this is what makes a good storyteller and a good designer. And this is what AI is struggling to do because it does not have that level of empathy and human experience to think to that level of abstraction. I want to do an exercise with all of you right now. Look at the place, look at your desk, look at the place you are in currently while watching that stream. Every object, if it's messy or clean, if there is a foot plate or not around you, everything around you, every object around you tells something about you, how you live, what are your habits, what is your personality, what do you like, everything. Try to retro-engineer what the place and the state that it is in currently tells about you. I wish my webcam could work today, but that's something I often show to my students. I currently have a food plate on my left because I was busy. I came back home at 4 p.m. after taking the train, and I had a phone call, so I was just eating between phone calls. I have figurines of owls because I like owls, of course. I have some speakers because I like music. I have a big audio DAC and hi-fi equipment because I really like hi-fi music. I have tons of figurines of owls. I have a big cat statue on my desk. If you have a keen eye, you will realize it's not a statue, it's an urn with the ashes of a cat. So it can tell something about what happened. I have a total mess around that because I just came back home a few hours ago and I was in a hurry. It tells that about me. There's a bit of cleaning gear nearby that is collecting dust because it's been 3 weeks that I was not at my own place. There is a table behind with a gigantic board game that I played with my girlfriend like a month ago, and I did not bother to clean before leaving that place for a few weeks. So it's still there, and the game is still there. What else? I have a cat basket filled with cat hair that has been collecting dust for months. This plus the cat urn and the cat basket on top of the other cat basket. You might know that a cat has been missing for a few months. What else? There are plants. I like plants. There is, at the other side of the room, there is a drum kit that has been silenced with silent heads. So you might know I'm a drummer and that I might have allegedly or not pissed my neighbors while playing drums. So I decided to silence it. The fact that it's outside its usual room might tell you that I'm currently doing a bit of construction work in that room. Yeah, that's the kind of profiling you will have if you were to see my place. I wish I had my webcam, but unfortunately it's not there. I have a gaming keyboard, so you know I'm a gamer, or at least I used to be. I have a game controller, so I play with a controller, or at least I play games that requires that. I have a teacup with a rest of tea that smells like a raspberry, so you might know what kind of tea I like. I have sticky notes everywhere. That's pretty much what I can tell you. And I think I revealed a lot of things about me. That's the kind of stuff that can happen when you look at your own gear. I hope it makes sense. And I hope it answers your question about brainstorming the environment. It's like doing the reverse of what we have been doing there. You have the inventory, you figure out the theme. Right now you have the theme, you figure out the inventory. If you are aiming at sci-fi as a junior, I know you advise against that. Which companies should you aim at? That's a problem. Not that many companies doing sci-fi hire juniors. That's the problem. Instead of doing sci-fi, I would advise you to do modern stuff. And I would, if there is something I advise even against even more than sci-fi, it would be modern military shooters. I'm sorry for all the Apex Legends fans. That's because, again, it's very bland and nobody gives a shit about seeing your random ass military soldier cosplay photo bashed. I would pick something slightly historical yet military. Let's say, I might be biased, but I would like to see something like Napoleon War, for example, or Secession War, American Revolution, something like this. You're still doing military stuff, but not fully modern. And there's a bit of technology. Or if you want to do something modern, it's tough. It's very tough. Pick something like solar punk, something like this. Something where you really solve problems and you're not just pew 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 gun explosions and such. That's the way we'll do it. Best themes that are not generic. There's no best thing. I can just give you the list of the theme to avoid at the moment, which is everything that has been super trendy in the last years. So avoid Japan and Asia overall. We got Wukong, Assassin's Creed Shadows that got postponed, but still. We got Sekiro, we got Neo 1 and 2, we got crap ton of Japanese games overall. Avoid post-apocalyptic. We got Last of Us. We got Fallout. We got Mad Max, Rage. Probably more stuff, but that's all that I have in mind. Or else you need to bring a crazy twist to it. Like a crazy, crazy twist to it and do something unexpected. Avoid modern military shooters. As I was saying, there's one Call of Duty every year and one Battlefield every year, so it's toast. Avoid Vikings. We got Game of Thrones, Viking series, Assassin's Creed Valhalla, God of War, it's Hellblade, it's been toast. Avoid vanilla medieval shit. Bring an interesting culture like Croatia, Slavic. Bring a twist to that medieval thing like French Inquisition. Something unexpected. Not just your average medieval isekai type of bullshit. With the same generic things, the same generic power, the same generic shitty ass guilds. Avoid that. Every time you want to do a theme, see if it's been trendy and milked on ArtStation. If it's the case, avoid that. Bring a twist. That's why I was saying pick an existing story and bring a twist to that. That's a meme I have. Let me show that to you. Let me show you. This is a funny meme that I've been doing. I think I showed it last time. Nope. I have a slide for that. It's a slide from the mentorship, by the way. I'm spoiling you for the mentees who are going to get the week free thing. Finding a good portfolio subject. Shit, where is it? Anyways, let me grab that meme. So many memes. You're not ready for what's going on LinkedIn. Yeah, this one. Pick a simple subject. On one side, you have that guy, super personal project, 153 pages of lore, branching backstory, make its own language, crazy world building with rules, genealogical tree for every family, no job. And on that end, you have that Chad artist. Pick a simple, famous story, one big twist, design school shit. That's what I advise. Look at the subject of the mentee. This is simple. Moby Dick, super simple, yet nobody is doing that. Sarah doing Robin Hood in D&D. Alex doing the War of Troy and the Iliad, very good. Pick some old story. You have some great stuff. Fengzu was already advising for that. For someone who wants to make a good sci-fi thing, 20,000 Leagues Under the Sea by Jules Verne with the submarine and the Nostromo. And you do it in like Art Deco or Art Nouveau style. Boom. You have a crazy good subject right there. Would you think it would be good to get it towards what's trending? Fuck no. Fuck no. Avoid trends. How can you possibly stand out when that thing has been done 50 gazillion times already? Avoid trend lacks the play. When you see something trending on ArtStation, it's already too late. It's going to get your work to be exactly like this, okay? There's another meme that I've shared. Where's my obsidian? Okay. This one, aspiring artist portfolio pointing at each other because they look the same. And where is it? This one, aspiring concept artist doing keyframe only, kit bashing, and following every turn on station. I'm going to stand out so much with my artworks, and 99% of other aspiring on the market trying to get a job. Avoid trends like the fucking plague. Please. This is going to be part of my presentation for Kind of Art. One of the first things that I say is that I found it baffling, absolutely baffled since I started my career and even when I was a student. I hope it doesn't sound arrogant. There's no arrogance in what I'm saying, but I found it highly weird and shocking in some way that our job as artists is pattern recognition. We, as artists, are just stacking patterns with each other to tell a story and to make a picture, okay? Pattern recognition and problem solving. Yet, everyone is fucking unable, absolutely unable to do that outside of art. You want to look at the state of the market from a pattern recognition standpoint? Simple. What is everyone doing? Keyframes, Last of Us 2 fan art, kit bashing, following every trend. We have Wukong right now, so I guess everyone is going to do Chinese things. Are they getting jobs? Pattern recognition? No. So why would anyone expect different result by doing the same thing? That's how you stand out. I hope it answered the question. I hope I do not sound like a dick saying that. I mean, no evil. And my entire work with that, with those lives, the mentorship, everything, it's been my life for almost a year now, is to scream to the world to avoid doing that, because people, they follow trends, they crash on the doors of the industry, and they don't understand why. They're like, I don't understand. I have done everything that was supposed to be done. I followed the ArtStation meta to the letter. You know that Rick and Morty meme, like time I respected women, time I followed the ArtStation meta, I should get a job. No. If you do things that are similar to everyone else, you are becoming a commodity, and by definition, it loses value. It's the law of supply and demand. You start seeing the market from the law of supply and demand. What is a commodity? What is rare? Everything makes sense. Last of Us 2 fan art, keyframes with kit bash and all of that. This is the commodity. The crazy call-out sheet from Alex and Michael and all the mentees. This is where the value is. And when was the last time you saw them on ArtStation? Yeah, I know it stinks. And again, I do not want to be an asshole. I do not say that to be mean. I say that with a bit of spice to point out at the irony of that, okay? When a reviewer sees a portfolio like this, the thing they're going to say is going to be, oh shit, another one. That's exactly what I posted on LinkedIn recently. Oh shit, another keyframe designer with Last of Us fan art and no callouts. Another one pixel brush or Terraform or ILM wannabe focusing solely on rendering. Another student with 23 different subjects in their portfolio and nothing curated for us. Another portrait or splash art only quote-unquote character designer with not a single full character represented. All the obvious kit bash packs and Jamas Night. All the Gumroad tutorial connections that are trendy put in a portfolio, and we can name exactly which tutorial you followed. That's something I do sometimes in calls with people. It's like, oh, you followed Dana Warrior's tutorial. Oh, this is Pablo Dominguez's tutorial. And again, nothing against them. This is amazing. They are doing the technique and their tutorials are great. But do not put that in a portfolio. This is an exercise. Okay? You want to stand out. You want to be a breath of fresh air, and you want the reviewer to scream, oh my God, finally someone who gets it. Finally, thank you. This is why I say my students to always start with a call-out sheet, because at least you won't avoid the, oh no, oh shit, another keyframe. No. You start with a call-out sheet with a big layout. You're like, oh, finally someone who gets it. And then you have the keyframe. It's like, okay, that's fine. You know how to do it, you know? And yes, and with fan art. Fan art is fine. Not in a portfolio to collect lights or attract the attention of people. Sure. In a portfolio, maybe one if it's a very fan art heavy company like Blizzard or Riot. But again, those are senior heavy companies. And it means that the rest of your work is carrying you so hard that they don't give a shit about the fan art. For a junior, this is a rookie mistake. Okay? Oh, Milim, this is Sarah who told you about the artist. Thank you, Sarah. Sarah is amazing. Any final question, folks? Anyone? We have so many cool memes. What do I like in my sandwich? Chicken and goat cheese. And mustard. Would you recommend people doing prop design in their portfolio when they mostly have experience in characters? Always. The props for characters, it will be the gear and the costumes. So yes, do that because you're going to need them for the character. Always have props. Where will this video be? I slept through the beginning. Technically, that video should disappear after the replay. I might leave it. Actually. I will see. I'll consider the option to potentially leave it. But it's not sure. But you can already... Okay, it's time to do the YouTuber thing. Remember to subscribe and hit the bell button, folks. Yeah, no, you can subscribe and hit the bell just to get informed about the stream. And also because starting in November, I will share some clips from those streams and from the mentorship, as I said at the beginning. Again, the clips from the mentorship, I have a bit of editing because I don't want to reveal the identity of any of the mentees. I do not want to dox anyone. So I have to blur faces or to do a bit of editing to just have the audio in some way. So that's where you're going to get some infos. You want to get a lot of goodies. The Discord, link down below. And can one of the moderator, if there is still a moderator, share the link of the Discord? Let me share the link actually. Let me share the link in the chat. Oh my god, I got spammed with so many messages. Let me copy the link. Copy and paste. There we go. There's the link to the Discord if you want to join. So yeah, that's where you're going to get a lot of information. I'm going to remember... I'm going to just remember everyone, just in case if you want to join the mentorship, the artnest.academy/portfolio guide. What is the best online place to learn the basic of art? I have exactly what you need. So this, the portfolio guide, that video is free, is for anyone close to junior level or above it trying to get a job. Go watch that, it's free, and you can book a call to apply to the mentorship. If you are still there to learn the bare basics, I have something for you. The artnest.academy/free course. It's free. Just your email. You get the free course for free. It's a full curriculum from 0 to pro level without breaking the bank. The promise is better than an art school for less than $1,000 a year worth of tutorials that you buy online. And this is not sponsored. I make zero money with that. I probably have a few affiliate links. I'm going to get you some discounts, by the way. You're going to get some crazy discounts on some Kitbash assets. So grab the free course if you want, totally free. And even if you drop your email, I'm not going to spam it. I'm not going to disrespect your email. I'm not going to rip it apart. I'm going to send you a few memes sometimes. I'm going to remind you about the portfolio guide video sometimes. And I'm going to send you infos about the live stream and what is happening on the server in the community. So only useful stuff, I promise. No spam. Here we go. Oh, Elena. Yeah, I know who you are. You did not miss anything. And again, this is just a live. The replay is available for the mentees, so you will be able to see that. Prop design for environment, furnitures, small objects, trinkets, tapestries, pattern posters, everything you could find in a house or in a place. Could be small vehicles if you're outside, like a chariot and such. That's it. So you have the portfolio guide, you have the free course, you have the Discord. This was my shameless advertising. Again, we are building Savages. Mentorships class for the next one is on November 2nd. Few spots got taken already. It's going to fill up very fast. So I hope you enjoyed the session, folks. As always, I hope it brought you value and a lot of information. Stick together. Join the Discord to work together every day in the grind set or in the library. Feel free to share the LinkedIn memes and such. If you know anyone that will benefit from that, feel free to bring them in. The more the merrier. And yeah. See you soon. Take care, folks. Bye.